Being a conservative student on a college campus is certainly an interesting experience, and it often feels like you have to walk around on eggshells near all your professors, your classmates, whoever you come across, not to mention how bad things got with COVID requirements and mandates. So today we're going to talk about our experiences in higher education on this special Blue-Haired Conservatives episode of Subtle Rampage podcast. Let's get into it.
Warning, the following program contains critical thinking, honest opinions, viewpoints on culture that may seem conservative, and a positive view on absolute detestable things such as marriage and children. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Subtle Rampage podcast, where I discuss the things that I feel like discussing. Now, in the studio with me today, I have my best friend and fellow blue-haired conservative, Shauna Husky. Say hi!
Hi!
Yay! Everybody cheer us on! It's so great to have somebody else to talk to on these things. Okay, so today our whole episode is about higher education, the college experience, what it was like for us as conservatives and former homeschoolers, all of that fun stuff. Both of us kind of got an early start on the whole college experience thing. We both started doing dual enrollment courses in person at age 16.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. So there is that. Shauna actually recently graduated from her university with a BA in graphic design and minors in marketing and fine arts.
Yes.
So she's all educated, guys.
I like to think so, at least.
Yes. And I promise, despite the flaws in the education system, she does know what she's doing.
Yes, I do my research.
Yes. So there is that. My education experience when it comes to college was a bit more turbulent, and you know, we both had to deal with COVID stuff. We just dealt with it in different ways because of, you know, life
experiences, lifestyles.
Yeah, just like the ability to make certain decisions is, you know, a factor. So, just who and who cannot do certain things is a factor. So I did not finish college. I had like a year and a half left of my bachelor's degree, but it was insanely turbulent trying to be in school with all the COVID mandates and the requirements and everything. The first university that I initially went to after after high school pretty much told me that I could comply or transfer.
Yeah. Which they wouldn't say in writing.
No. I asked if they would put it in writing, and they said no. So, we all know why. We all know that that's for legal reasons. But, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, you know, and then I tried to transfer, and, you know, things were just not working out.
Yeah.
In my conservative favor. Okay, so
it was a whole struggle bus.
It was a whole struggle bus, and in the end, I just decided to drop out. So, and now I've got a few things going for me, man. I'm doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is possible to live life without a college education. It's just depending on the career you want. You might want to get a college education, i.e. medical, i.e. If you're looking for a job, okay, and you don't want to be completely self-reliant. You know, you're going to have to, you know, get something because people want that degree. That's why I didn't hire Shauna as my graphic designer for Subtle Rampage until she had that 4-year degree.
Yes, this is true.
We joke, but...
Right.
It's not like she was super busy with school and being a student or anything.
Actually, I had so much free time.
During your senior year?
Yeah.
She shook her head no, for those of you on audio. But, yeah. So I guess I kind of wanted to start off this episode by talking a little bit about just college. Like, do you need college? The whole idea of like having to go to college after high school. Now I feel like in the last few years, especially in the homeschool community, I've noticed it a lot. Just a little bit more of an open approach to kids not going to college and instead going to technical schools, trade schools, getting certifications elsewhere, and just finding other avenues to get to where they want to be career-wise or lifestyle-wise. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what was the feeling like growing up concerning all of that? Like, what was it expected of you that you went to college?
Yes.
Yes.
It was very hard, yes. And, like, understandably, because that's the kind of, like, influence my parents also grew up around. Like, you know, go to school, get your degree, you know, get a job, have a family, like, still type of values. And so, like, that was also, like, instilled in me in a young age.
Yeah.
I can talk.
Shh.
Not really.
It's fine. I was completely illiterate the other day, so, you know, it'd be like that.
It'd be like that. But yeah, I remember finishing my AA, which was in 2020, half a bachelor's degree. I was done. I personally was checked out. I'm good on school. I'm a person that likes academics. I enjoy school, but at this point I was just beyond done. And my mother continued to push me, and she's like, no, you're getting your BA. And this is the one and only time I will say thank you, Mom. Just kidding, I love you. But she pushed me to get my BA, and now I have it. And honestly, I am glad I have it now. I feel like I have more skills than I did at community college.
Fair.
Not saying you can't do anything with an AA. You definitely can. It just depends on the person.
And it's really kind of pointless to get an AA.
Unless you're transferring.
To counter that. Yeah, unless you're transferring, it's really pointless to get an AA at this point. Like, it used to mean something to employers. Like, my mom got an AA. When she did that, it meant something to employers. Now, it doesn't mean crap.
Yeah.
They want you to have a 4-year degree. Like...
Yeah, like, community colleges now have programs set up for you to specifically transfer to the nearby 4-year degree.
Yeah, because it's expected that you don't stop at the associate's degree. Honestly, a lot of employers view associate's degrees as, like, on the same level as, like, a GED. Like, and it's really ridiculous, honestly, but...
Like an unfinished degree.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's really sad.
Yeah. But, yeah, so it was expected of you that you go to college. What was your experience with, like, other people that you knew? Public schooled, homeschooled, whatever. Like, did you see other people's parents, like, kind of offering, like, trade school as an option, offering up, like, no, you don't have to go to college, just depends on what you want, like...
In the beginning, no. It was very much college or go into a blue-collar job. Like, you gotta pick one, and most of the push was for college.
Yeah.
But as I've watched my sisters grow up and other homeschool families and non-homeschool families around me looking for other resources outside of college, you know, trade school has been more positively, you know, spoken about, and other avenues of learning. It's for me, it's just interesting in the perspective of, like, homeschooling, you're molding the education around your child, and now in this transition, you're teaching your child how to find the right education for them and the career they want to pursue.
Yeah, and that there's, like, so many different avenues to get to the same place in most things.
In most cases.
Like, you know, obviously if you want to be a doctor, there's only so many ways you can do that.
That's a bit different.
But, you know, yeah, just, like, that is pretty much the gist. Like, there, like, if, you know, if you're catering an education towards a child, it only makes sense to try to continue to cater that towards them as they're heading into adulthood. Teach them how to figure out how to do things the way that they want to do things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was, I think it was just expected of me that I would go to college just because I always wanted to go to college. I feel like if I had wanted something different, my parents would have been, like, the type to be like, okay, well, how is that gonna work? But just because, like, from, like, middle school onward, like, I was very dead set on the fact that I was going to college. That was just always what me and my parents expected me to do. And as far as, like, other people's parents, it was the same. It was like, you're either going straight into, like, a job, that you're gonna pretty much be working for a long time, or you're gonna go to college. And I think that that was a major push for a long time, many years, several generations. That was the push.
Yes.
But the thing is like, at some point that stopped being, like, the results stopped coming out well for that. You kind of see how, you know, like we were talking about, the associate's degree lost its value, the bachelor's loses its value. It's
starting to lose its value.
Yeah, like certain things start to lose their value in just the general cultural sphere of things. And and people who get a BA are not, there's so many people with that, and it's like a lower level expectation for so many jobs now that it's like you're not getting the best of the best jobs if you go get a 4-year degree. It's just the reality. So it's kind of one of those things where I think in recent years people have kind of started to see that that there's a lot of failure in that system now. And so they're trying to be more open to technical schools and trade schools and other ways to get to a career that you want, just because college is so expensive, and there's a lot of people who don't do well in that environment anyway and don't even need it to get where they want to be. I do want to put in there, though, that part of the push towards trade schools and vocational schools, I can tell you right now, part of it is because they need more people in those industries, because they pushed for the academic part of things for so long that they were lacking people in those industries. So now states are putting like initiatives into place.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So now states are putting initiatives into place for trade schools, and a lot of states have set up relationships between trade schools and the state, or trade schools and businesses, to where as soon as people finish these trade school programs, they immediately have job offers, because they need people in those industries. So that's part of why people are starting to be more open to it, is because it is being pushed on us more. So just a little tidbit for you to keep in mind. It's not that we're just evolving as human beings, it's that it's a bigger narrative that's getting pushed on us.
There's usually a bigger narrative to everything, whether you recognize it or not.
Definitely. So do you have to go to college? The answer is no. We all know this. You should all know this. But next thing, I think one misconception that a lot of non-homeschoolers seem to have, that homeschoolers don't understand, is like they have this idea that homeschoolers will have a really difficult time adjusting to college life.
Yeah, the people think that a lot, and like based off stereotypes, I see why.
I guess I see why, but like again, the stereotypes it's not it.
No.
It's really not.
It's like, don't generalize people.
Yes. I've met a very, very small percentage of weird homeschoolers.
Same here.
I've probably met more weird public schoolers.
I can attest to that as well.
Yeah. So just for the record. But yeah, so people have this misconception of like, it's going to be so horribly difficult and, just a huge adjustment.
Don't be able to transition to like a normal life.
Yeah. It's honestly just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we both did dual enrollment. Like I said, we started at 16, so obviously we got part of the college experience a little bit sooner than some people. And the reason I say that is because like it's not like we were doing these dual enrollment courses in our high school or online. Yeah. We did a lot of in-person, on-campus college courses.
All in-person.
Yeah, but community college is still way different than four-year universities.
It is very different.
Yes. So, and I'm going to focus a lot on Shauna for this episode, guys, because I can talk about myself whenever I want, but I only have Shauna for a brief period of time, at least in person. Do you think going from homeschool to higher education was difficult, or do you think it was easy, or do you think it was like, or like...
I think in the beginning, as a 16-year-old, I put a lot of pressure on it because of all the negative stereotypes I faced growing up, labeling me dumb because I was taught by my mom. When going into it, I had the mindset of like, I want to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I am smart, I can do this, and I feel like I've proved that at this point. But
yeah,
that was the mindset I had going into it, and that put a lot of stress on that put a lot of stress on me, just from me.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a little scary to me, like in the first few like weeks.
Yeah.
But I fortunately, for my first teachers, they were very kind to me. So it felt like very smooth sailing, honestly. Like, I don't have many complaints of transition.
Yeah. Plus, as we've discussed before, if you haven't gone back and watched our first couple Blue Conservatives podcasts, you should go back and watch those. But as we've discussed before, a lot of professors love to hear that you're homeschooled.
Mm-hmm. They are very thrilled.
Yeah.
Like literally jumping for joy.
Yeah, smile ear to ear. Like a lot. There's some that could give a crap, but a lot of them that I've experienced have been like just super happy that you're homeschooled. So, there's that. So, was there anything that you felt like more prepared for dealing with because of your homeschool experience? Or because of the things that homeschooling instilled in you? Like, do you feel like you were more prepared because maybe homeschooling made you more independent? Or
that is a huge factor. Like, there's no one to hold your hand in community college. Like, it's all on you. It relies on you to get your homework done and turn it in.
Yeah.
And that was fine. Like, I was already doing that on my own with my high school homework. So it wasn't much different going into college and doing that. It felt normal. It felt like what was expected of me all my life.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's a lot of like, not all homeschool families encourage it, but when it comes to when you hit high school and you start doing a lot of work on your own and doing a lot of time management on your own, without your parent, they kind of they'll come alongside you if you need them, but but they just know that you can do a lot of stuff on your own. It encourages a lot of independence, a lot of self-learning, a lot of self-teaching. So that definitely comes in handy when you hit college. I feel like a lot of people who went to public school or a non-preparatory school, if you will, they hit college and it's very overwhelming. And not to say that it's not overwhelming as a homeschooler to go into a different environment like that, but it is less overwhelming in my opinion because you are already doing some of the things that are required of you at the college level when it comes to how you're handling your studying and schedule and everything like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you felt you were less prepared for because you were homeschooled?
I would say maybe standing up for myself in certain cases when it came to grown adult students.
Like the adults who were going back to school or like adults who are like freshmen, sophomore, like
both.
Okay.
Both. Like, most of the people there were nice, and we would have very, like, adult conversations and mature conversations. Like, I could converse with them, and we'd be friends.
Yeah.
But there were those one or two few adults that, like, were just really aggressive towards me for no reason. That is the only thing I could say I was less prepared for.
Yeah. Was it, like, aggression, like, in, like, class discussion, or
more so towards me as a person?
Okay, just not really vibing with the whole dual credit student situation, or
being white.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because you were going to HCC.
Yeah.
There's that. Yeah.
They had a lot of issues with me being white, but that's a different story.
Yeah, there were a lot of discussions about racism that kind of got a little bit unhinged.
And turned racism, like,
towards the white people in the room, even though there wasn't an argument from the white person in the room.
Yeah, literally.
Love that. The only thing that I can think of that I was less prepared for when it comes to going from homeschool to college is literally just the whole, like, not even necessarily how to talk to somebody I disagree with, but how to talk to somebody I disagree with in front of 20 other people who probably agree with that other person.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I was not prepared for.
Yeah, that's really difficult to do.
Yeah, and, like, even, like, as a dual credit student, like, I wasn't, like, keeping up with politics at that point in my life. Like, even then, but there were some things, like, as a Christian, that I believed that, like, there were instances where a lot of other people in the classroom did not agree with me, and it's very difficult to stand up for what you believe in or explain what you believe in when there are multiple people trying to shut you down, and, like, it feels like everybody else in the classroom does not agree with you.
I did not like that feeling. That happened too many times, and it's just like, just let me, like, process and speak coherently to you, and we will have a good conversation if you will also act civil with me as I'm trying to do with you.
Crazy concept.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the professors at community college were worse than the professors at university, or?
Honestly, I think that just depends on the teacher and like their passion towards teaching.
Yeah.
Because like I've had bad teachers at community college and at my 4-year. So it really just depends.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Although I will say that my worst teachers were community college teachers. That's what I will say. Professor Brown, macroeconomics.
Oh,
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I know you.
I literally, like, that woman was a piece of work. I don't go around calling people pieces of work, but that woman was a piece of work.
She earned the title.
I asked her why she didn't do lectures, because she wouldn't do lectures. Okay. Even though we had, literally, the class was supposed to be a lecture class. Like, she would just, like, give us questions and then give us answers to the questions. She never explained anything. And I asked her in, like, you know, her like office hours one time. I was like really struggling in the class because nothing was ever being explained in macroeconomics. Okay. And so I asked her, I was like, I don't, like, is there a reason that you don't lecture in class? Like, I said it very, like, you know, cautiously. I wasn't being accusatory. And she was just like, well, not everybody learns by lectures. And I was like, well, what about the students that do learn from lectures? Yeah. And she was just like, I just, you know, if you're reading the textbook and you're using all the materials we have for this course, you should be able to figure it out. And I'm like, you're the one who went to school and are teaching macroeconomics. I am lost here asking for help. She was a terrible teacher. She should not be teaching. I should have, like, gone to the dean about that. I really should have. I just was so done by the end of that semester. I was like, oh my gosh. But barely anybody was passing that class. I'll just put it out there. And usually when that happens, I know that there's difficult courses, but if most of your students are failing, there is a reason for that. Lady literally took up a good chunk of our class time, like bringing in her DSW shoe warehouse haul and telling us how much everything cost.
That was very special.
There were several instances like that where I was like, what is happening? What is happening? One time our class time was taken up by these two people who came in advertising a temp agency down the road. And they just talked about their temp agency for our class time. What does that have to do with macroeconomics? Did they relate anything to macroeconomics? No. It was almost like the professor was begging us to drop her class and just go work at a warehouse. Like, honestly.
That sounds like what the push was.
Yeah.
We need more blue-collared people.
Honestly, then maybe that was her whole agenda. But yeah, so we have that. So yeah, at the school that I transferred to later on after my first university, I did have a not so great experience with the professor there that I've detailed in my Mommy Daddy The World is Burning episode of this podcast. So if you want to hear about that story, that insane story, you should go listen to that episode. But yeah, other than that, I think a lot of my university professors were far better than my community college professors, with the major exception of my college algebra teacher at the community college. She was a good teacher. She was very understanding. She was a very quiet person, but she actually tried to, she was very sweet. She tried to make algebra fun. It wasn't for any of us, but she tried. And she was very good at explaining math. She knew her stuff, and she really came alongside, like, every single person in that class who was struggling. Like, she was there. So I think she was a very good teacher. I'll just put that out there. So if you're going to community college at Navarro, in Waxahachie, Texas, okay, Leslie Stice, take her algebra class. She's a great teacher. She's absolutely adorable and sweet. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is the left-leaning agenda.
Oh, wow.
You know, as I've talked about on this podcast a million times, academia is just full of left-leaning ideologies, blah, 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 blah,
as much as they don't say it is.
Yeah, no, they would never.
Never.
But, so do you feel like the course materials that you had to read throughout your college experience, Do you feel like those materials that you had to read and use, were they left-leaning themselves?
100%. Yes. Especially in my, what was it? Art History 3 and my poetry class. Most definitely in terms of reading material. Yes, 100%.
Were there materials that weren't necessarily left-leaning that, because of who was teaching it, became left-leaning?
I think so. Like, some of my English Comp 2 discussions, definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I remember being very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not being able to say anything because I didn't want to get attacked again in front of everybody and the teacher not doing anything.
We love it.
Yeah. At least I did have other students trying to defend me that time. But
so, on that same vein, do you have any crazy professor stories revolving around left-leaning politics, ideologies, anything like that? Any crazy professor rants, interactions?
I mean, I think there's just too many, honestly. Like, part of me has blocked some stuff out, and part of me is just, like, not wanting to remember. Like,
that's fair.
What comes to mind is, like, not exactly rants, but it's, like, the way they taught the course and spoke about certain things was definitely, like, if you're a conservative and Christian and you eat at Chick-fil-A, you know, you're a terrible person. And, yeah.
Gotta love those side rants that professors go on in the middle of their lectures.
Yeah, that makes you feel very welcomed as a student, and not like they hate you, and if they ever found out who you were or what you believed, you know, you would be burned at the stake. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, also, I've just overheard a lot of interactions just around campus that are that way, and it's just like, okay, feel sorry for that person if they're getting lectured or if they're just talking very aggressively. I can't tell at this point.
Fair. I will say it on a pretty consistent basis. One of the only good things that came out of my first university experience was the communication that I still have with one of my English professors. And I think, like, we disagree on everything, probably, I would assume. Yeah. Like, but the thing is like, he is still not the type of person, like, I spoke up several times as, like, I took one of his courses one semester, and then the next semester that I was at that college, I took another course of his, and I, got a little bit more comfortable. I was getting to know the guy, and so, like, the second course that I took in his class, I did speak up a little bit on certain things that I felt like needed to be said, that I knew that other people in the class weren't going to agree with, and I never felt like he was going to completely shut me down and attack me. Whereas a lot of my other classes that I took, I knew that was exactly what was going to happen. It happened multiple times. I appreciate that professor for just the way that he conducted himself. I'm like, it's not hard.
It's not hard to be civil with someone you disagree with.
No. And, like, even, like, I met up with the guy for coffee in February because I was up in Wisconsin. I was like, just talking about stuff. We were updating each other on things because, we'd never even met in person, by the way.
Yeah, this was all virtual.
All virtual, like, Zoom classes. But we had kept up email communications. And so we finally met in person. We met up for coffee in February of this year. And it was such a great conversation. Like, I walked away feeling so happy that I'd finally gotten to meet this guy in person because, like, we talked about all sorts of stuff. And it's like, you can find so much in common with people you disagree with as long as you are just open to discussing things and talking about things and, like, finding common ground. And, like, the thing is like, when I said, when he asked what I've been up to, and I said, oh, I started a podcast where I talk about politics and, I'm conservative and all this stuff, and and I tell him that I'm now writing for the Tennessee Conservative and all that stuff. Okay, he's not sitting there going, he's not like immediately getting frustrated with me and immediately getting all worked up. Okay, he's just like, okay, that's very good. Like, just being, like, happy that I have done, like, been able
that you are
to do
becoming
something
successful away from school.
And it's like, and it's not a difficult thing to interact with people like that, but in the sphere of academia, it's very hard to find people that are level-headed, like people should be.